How are you guys? It's really nice to be in contact with you by this means, by using Zoom. I hope that you're all doing fine, that you're staying at home safe, that you're not going out for no reason. And we're going to continue. We're going to begin the classes in this visual way. Today, we'll start working with a section that is about the properties of parallelograms. Previously, we have been working with polygons. We began the work of this new chapter, chapter 6, with polygons. We discussed what a polygon was, or is actually, the ways to classify polygons that can be classified by the number of sides, by the shape or the measure of the angles and size, and also it can be classified as a concave or convex. Then we continue in the next section with the idea of quadrilaterals, and we see the different kind of quadrilaterals that we can have. And today we will continue with a special kind of quadrilateral that is called parallelograms. So today we're going to study the properties of parallelograms. So let's start. For this class, the objectives are to apply properties of parallelograms and to use properties of parallelograms to solve problems. So let's begin with the basic of this, that it will be to have clear what a parallelogram is. I know that you have an idea what a parallelogram is, but in here we have the formal definition. A quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides is called a parallelogram. And if we want to write the name of a parallelogram, we can use this symbol. And when you see this symbol, we can say that it's a parallelogram. So in here, we have parallelogram ABCD in words, or just with the symbol in front of the ABCD letters. So as you can see here, guys, from the figure, I can clearly understand that this is a parallelogram because I'm using between the letters A, B, and C and D a single arrowhead. So that means that the segment AB and segment CD are parallel, and the same happens with the segment BC and AD. Between the vertices B and D, B and C, and A and D, I'm using a double arrow, so that means that the segments BC and AD are parallel. And the symbol that we use for this is this double bar. This double bar means parallel too. So, since we need to discuss what are the properties of the parallelograms, let's see which ones are the properties of parallelograms. Let's answer this question. So let's see the next slide. In the next slide, we have this parallelogram, and it says in here that opposite sides are congruent. So if we use a single bar or a tick mark, it means that these opposite sides are congruent. And we use a double bar, it means, or double tick mark, it means that these two sides are gonna be also congruent. So let me interact a little bit with this. Let me see, let me name, for example, the vertices of this angle in this way, A, B, E, and H. So by looking at the figure and the tick marks that I have, I can say that the sides AB and EH are parallel. So side AB, it is parallel to EH. And I know that also you can notice from this figure that the sides AH and BE are parallel. So segments AH and, let me write it again, AH and, let me erase here, sorry guys. Here you go. Segments AH and segment BE are parallel. So this is the property, opposite sides are congruent. Let's continue with the next property. And then the next property says that opposite angles are congruent. So we have this double arc indicating that these angles that are opposite are congruent. And also we have this single arc twice, indicating that these opposite angles are going to be congruent. So let me, again, to interact with the figure, let me say that in this case, I'm going to name the vertices using these letters. Let me use the letters, allow me, let me change color. Let me call this one E, C, F, and D. So here we have four vertices. The vertices are the angles. It's exactly the same idea, angles E, C, F, and D. And here we can say that the angle E, it is congruent with its opposite angle. In this case, the opposite angle is the angle F. So angle E and angle F are congruent. And also the angle C and the angle D are opposite. So therefore the angle C, it is congruent with the angle D. And this is opposite angles are congruent. Let's continue with the next property. And in the next property says diagonals bisect each other. A diagonal, it is a segment that connects two non-consecutive vertices. So we have this one, we have this other one, and we have in here that these two diagonals are they bisect each other. So let me do again an interaction with this figure, and let me name the vertices. Let me call them A, B, C, and D. And let me call the point where the two diagonals intersect, let me call it point E. So in here, what it states is that the diagonals bisect each other. So what does it mean? It means that, for example, the diagonal AD bisects the diagonal BC, meaning that the segments BE and EC are gonna be congruent. Let me erase it here. Segment BE, it is congruent with the segment EC. But simultaneously, at the same time, the diagonal BC or the segment BC bisects the segment AD, meaning that in this segment AD, it is cut, this segment AD is cut in two equal parts, but the segment BC. So in here, what is true is the following. Segment AE, it is congruent with the segment ED. So in here, what we can notice that is the point E is the midpoint for the segment BC, but also for the segment AD. And this is the property diagonals bisect each other. So let's continue with the next and the last property. And the next property says that consecutive angles are supplementary. So here we have these two angles that are consecutive, so they must be consecutive, meaning that they add up to 180 degrees. So let me do exactly what I did before. Let me interact a little bit with this figure, and let me call in this case the vertices by using the letters. It could be any letters in general. Let me use A, T, U, and V. So here we can see that in the figure they are pointing out two angles, the angle U and B, and these are consecutive angles. And if these are consecutive angles, we know the following. We know that the measure of the angle P plus the measure of the angle U, it must be equals 180 degrees. Let me erase this, sorry. So we need to make this clear. Let me erase this. So the measure of the angle B plus the measure of the angle U, it must be equals 180 degrees. But this is not the only one. I also can say that the angles T and U are consecutive angles. So that means that the measure of the angle T plus the measure of the angle U, it will be equals 180 degrees. And also, guys, let me switch color in here. I can notice in the figure that this angle T and this angle A are consecutive angles. Therefore, the measure of the angle T plus the measure of the angle A equals 180 degrees. And in the same sense, angle A and angle B are consecutive angles. Therefore, the measure of the angle A plus the measure of the angle B equals 180 degrees. So these are like the 4 equations that I can get out of this parallelogram. Consecutive angles are supplementary. Okay, let's continue. And let's begin with an example. It says in this example that is about properties of parallelograms that the quadrilateral CDEF, it is a parallelogram. We take it for granted. So DE equals 74 millimeters is given. DG equals 31 millimeters. And the measure of the angle FCD is 42 degrees. So it is, what we need to do here is to find the measure of the segment CF. And once again, let me do this exercise with you. I know that this is a parallelogram, so I need to indicate it. Actually, it should be given to you. I know that if this is a parallelogram, the segment CF, it must be parallel to the segment DE, so I use arrowheads to indicate that. And also the segment CD, it is parallel to the segment EF, so I use a double arrow. And with this, I already know that these segments are gonna be congruent. Now, what else can I assume from the information that is given? I know that in the figure, the segment DE, the length of that segment is 74 millimeters. So this segment here is 74 millimeters. Also, I know that the measure of the angle FCD, this is the angle FCD. This angle in here measures, this angle measures 42 degrees. And also given that the length of the segment DG is 31, this one over here is 31 millimeters. And what I need to do is to find the length of the segment CF. Okay, what can I use in here? What are the properties that we just discussed can be used in here? I know, since I need to find the length of the segment CF, is this one. I need to find the length of this segment. But I know that the segment CF and DE are opposite, and there is a property that says that opposite segments in a parallelogram are congruent. So I know that the length of the segment, that the segment CD, it is, sorry, segment C, let me erase, sorry guys. Let me take care of this. So in here, let's start again. I know that the segment DE, it is congruent with the segment CF. How do I know this? Because opposite segments are congruent in a parallelogram. And if they are congruent, it means that the length of the segment DE is the same as the length of the segment CF. And I know that the length of the segment DE is 74. So this must be equals to the length of the segment that I'm looking for. So the length of the segment CF, it is equal to 74. And this is what I needed to find. And that will do this exercise. So let's do another one. Let's go to the next one. In the next one, example 2, we're going to use again the same figure, and in this case, what we're going to be asked is something else. It says in the parallelogram CDEF, the segment DE measures 74 millimeters, DG is equal to 31 millimeters, and the measure of the angle FCD, it is 42 degrees. And in this case, we need to find the measure of an angle. So let me label again, like I did before, the information in this figure. So I know that the length of the segment DE is 74 millimeters. I know that the G is 31 millimeters. And I know that the measure of the angle FCD, FCD, this angle FCD, it is 42 degrees. And what I need to do is to find the measure of the angle EFC. Let me see, let me label that in here. EFC, let me switch color. So what we need to do in here is to find the measure of the angle EFC, this angle over here. So this is what we need to find. So what property may I use in here? I notice from the figure that the angle C and the angle F, or the angle DCF and the angle EFC, are consecutive angles. And if they're consecutive angles, I know the following. I know that the measure of the angle FCD plus the measure of the angle EFC, it must be equals 180 degrees. And in this case, the measure of the angle FCD is given, so I'm just gonna replace it. This is 42 degrees plus, sorry, I have an issue here. Let me complete this before. Measure the angle FCD plus the measure of the angle EFC equals 180 degrees. Here you go. And like I was telling you, the measure of the angle FCD is 42 degrees, plus I need to find the measure of the angle EFC, and this must be equals 180 degrees. So in here, guys, it's a normal equation that you know how to solve it. In here, the measure of the angle EFC, it would be equals 180 minus 42 degrees, and 180 minus 42 degrees, measure the EFC. Sorry about this, guys. It's not me. EFC, it will be equals 180 minus 42 is 138. So the measure of the angle EFC equals 138. Sorry about the handwriting. It's not easy to write on this. I'm using my cell phone to actually write it in here. So it's kind of difficult, guys, but I'm trying to do my best. So the measure of the angle EFC equals 138 degrees. So how did I solve it? Beginning with the principle that the sum of two consecutive angles equals 180. I know the measure of one of the angles is 42, and the measure of the other one, it will be 180 minus 42. So the measure of the angle EFC, it will be 138 degrees at the end. And that will make this exercise. So let's continue with another one. Let's see example 3. In example 3, notice that we're using like kind of the same information. In here it says that in quadrilateral, in parallelogram CDEF, the length of the segment DE is equal to 74 millimeters. As previously, DG is 31, measure of the angle FCD is 42, and what we need to find in this case is the length of the segment DF. So let's label again this figure. I know the length of the segment DE, that is 74. Maybe it's in here, sorry. This is 74 millimeters. The segment DG is 31 millimeters, and the angle FCD, this one over here, measures 42 degrees. And in this case, guys, what we need to do is to find the length of the segment DF. This segment here. We need to find the length of that segment. The segment DF. So what is the length of the segment DF? And what property can I use in here? I know the segment CE bisects the segment DF. So the segment DF is cut in two equal parts. So actually, what I can say in here, guys, is that by using the property that the diagonals bisect, I know that the length of the segment DF, it is twice the length of the segment that is given in here, DG. How do I know this? Okay, right in here, since the segment CE bisects the segment DF because they are diagonals, the length of the segment DG is half of the length of the segment DF. Or in other words, the length of the segment DF is twice the length of the segment DG. So DF, it would be equals 2 times the length of the segment DG, that is 31. So the length of the segment C, or DF, I mean, it is 62. So the length of the segment DF equals 62, and to be more precise, 62 millimeters. Let's see, we have another example over here. Yes, we have another one. And in this one, different from the previous one, we're going to use properties of parallelograms to find the following measures. So here we have variable expressions. So this is application of algebra. And let's see what we need to find in here. It's not clearly indicated. So what we can do in here, guys, is the following. Let me indicate it for you. We're going to find the value. Let's begin doing this. We're going to find the following. We're going to find value of A, and then we can find the measures of the segment WX and CY. That's what we can do. Also, we can find the measure of the angles. But let's begin with this. Let's find the value of A. So I notice that in here given, I have the measure of the variable expression for WX, the length of the segment WX, it is 68 plus 10, and also given the length of the segment CY equals 8A minus 4. 8A minus 4, let me erase this. Okay, so 8A minus 4. 8A, 8A, sorry guys, 8A, here we go. 8A minus 4. And what is the relation between WX and CY? The relation is that they are opposite. So they are opposite, they must be congruent. So WX is equals to CY. The length of the segment WX equals to the length of the segment CY. So we replace WX, that is 6A plus 10. This must be equals to 8A minus 4. And we have a linear equation that we can solve. Let's put together the numbers on one side and variables on the other side. So let me do this. 10, sorry. Let me copy 10. Sorry guys, yeah, it's okay. 10, I had an issue here. Wait, let me see what happened. I don't know what is going on. Let me start over. That's the only thing that I can do. Let me start over. I was telling you that the length of the segments WX, I need to find, I begin saying this. Let me find the value of the A. Sorry guys, I don't know what I did, but everything got erased. So I was proposing to find number 1, value of A, and then 2, find the measure of the segments WX and ZY. And CY. CY. So I was telling you that to find this value, the A, I noticed that WX and CY are opposite sides. So I know by one of the properties of parallelograms that these two segments are congruent. So WX is equal to CY. And I know that the Wx is 6a plus 10, and Cy equals to 8a minus 4. So these two expressions are the same. So to solve them, we can put together variables on one side and numbers on the other side. So let me put the numbers on one side. Let me collect numbers on the left side. And it would be 10 plus 4 equals, let me collect variables on the right side. And it would be 8a minus 6a. And 10 plus 4 is 14. 8a minus 6a, it would be 2a divided by 2 will lead us to the value of the a, that is 7. So the value of the a is 7. Now, let me find the measure of the segments. I know the Wx is the same as the measure of the segments Cy. So if I know one, if I find one of them, I will find the other one. So let me say Wx, it will be equals, Wx is equals, and let me replace 6a plus 10. Let me replace the value here, that is 7. It will be 6 times 7 plus 10, and this would be equals to 42 plus 10, it will be equals 52. And this would be exactly the same as Cy. So Wx is equals to Cy, and this, both of them, because they're congruent, equals 52. And this will do the first part of this exercise. Now, let me find now, the second part with the same figure, let me find now the value of b, and let me find the measure of the angle W and the measure of the angle. Okay, let me make this clear here. Let me find the measure of the angle W. Let me also find the measure of the angle C. So what property can I use in here to find both of this? I can use the property of consecutive angles. And what do we know about consecutive angles? I know that consecutive angles are going to be congruent. So let me say that the measure of the angle W plus the measure of the angle C would be equals 180 degrees. So I know that W measure that the angle W measured, so the variable expression for this is 18b minus 11, and make this clear, 18b minus 11, and the measure of the angle C is 9b plus 2. If we add this together, it will give us equals 180. So let me simplify it here. 18b plus 9b, it will give us 27b. 27b, negative 11 plus 2, it will be negative 9, and this must be equals 180 degrees. Then leaving alone the b expression, this 27b becomes 180 plus 9, that it will be 180, 189. Then leaving alone finally the b, it would be 189 divided by 27. And if we divide 189 by 27, it will give us, I think 7, let me see, 7 times 7 is 49, 7 times 14, and 41 will be 189, so it will be 0. So the value, yeah, the value of the b, it would be 7. That is the value of the b. And then, since I need to find, let me copy that over here. No, let's keep it on mind. Value of the b, it is 7. Now, let me erase all this because I don't have more space, guys. I don't have more room. And remember, the value of the b was 7. Value of the b that we found was 7. So now, what would be the measure of the angle W? I replace it. It would be 18 times 7 minus 11. So this would be equals 18 times 7. It would be 8 times 7. It would be 56. I'm taking 5 units. 8 times 7 is 56. Keep the 5. 7 times 1 is 7. And 5 would be 126 minus 11. And 126 minus 11, it would be 115 degrees. So the measure of the angle W, it will be 15 degrees. And in the same sense, the measure of the angle Z, it will be equals 115 degrees. So either you take it for granted that is congruent with the other one, because we know that they're congruent, we can say directly that the measure of the angle C is 115, or you can replace it into 9b plus 2, and you replace 7, and the measure, when you replace by 7, the answer must be, okay, sorry, here there is, I'm saying something wrong. They are not congruent, they're supplementary. So the measure of the angle C, sorry about that, guys, just let me correct that. The measure of the angle C, it would be equals 180 degrees. It would be 180 degrees minus the measure of the angle W that we just found. So it's 115. So the measure of the angle C, it would be equals 180 minus 115, it would be 65 degrees. So the measure of the angle C would be 65 degrees. And now you can do what I said. You can replace, for example, B into this expression. It would be 9 times 7, it would be 63 plus 2, it would be 65. The measure of the angle C would be 65. So we have in here the measure of the angle C, that is 65, and the measure of the angle W, that it was 150. So that will make, for the examples, that would be, here I have some information, we didn't use it, and okay, we did this already. I forgot that it was like 2 different exercises. We did it already, so we found these guys. As you can see, we already did all this. And I have some exercises for you that are gonna leave it in the PowerPoint presentation that I have ready for you, so you can see this class by means of this video, or you can see as a PowerPoint presentation. In the PowerPoint presentation that I have for you, I have more info that you can also use for the understanding of the section. So this is it for today, guys. It was really nice to being able to teach, that you were, I'm really glad that you can listen to my voice, that you can listen to my explanations, and I hope that this has been helpful. Not only you have access to the PowerPoint presentation for this time, it's not only the PowerPoint presentation, also you can listen to my voice by means of this video. So I hope that you have a good time, guys. See you soon, hopefully, and please stay at home. You don't need to be out for no reason, so stay home. Take care of your parents, take care of your pets, take care of things at home. Keep on cleaning the class, I'm sorry, guys. Keep on cleaning your house, keep on cleaning your room, and even more important, be ready for your classes. And I hope that we can see really soon at my school. Bye, guys.